evening and welcome to Newsnight on Metro TV. I am Issa Moni and the news is also available on channel 277 on DSTV. Let's go for the headlines now. And coming up, Patricia Isidua, also known as Nana Agrada, arrested following allegations of money doubling scam by some members of the public. Nationwide strike by the University Teachers Association of Ghana still imminent as all its branches make progress with emergency meetings informed by lack of progress in negotiations with government. And President Akufo-Addo begins a 6-day working visit to France. On the international front, 2 members of Iran's security forces have been killed in continuing protests against the authority. We have those details, including sports and entertainment, coming up this hour. Do stay with us. And beginning our news tonight, the police have arrested Patricia Isidua, also known as Nana Agrada, following allegations of money doubling scam leveled against her by some members of the public. The suspect is currently assisting the police with their investigations. In a statement issued on October 9, 2022, the police said anyone who is a victim of the alleged money doubling scam should report to the Accra Regional Police Command for further action to assist in the investigation. Earlier, some members of the Heaven Way Church in Weija accused their leader, evangelist Mama Pat, popularly known as Nana Agrada, of cleverly deceiving them and running away with their monies. According to the aggrieved congregants, Nana Agrada promised to double their monies through her special spiritual endowment. Based on this assurance, the affected worshippers said they were convinced to give her various sums of money in expectations of multiplied outcomes. But in a series of viral videos on social media on Saturday, the church members who repose confidence in the recently converted fetish preachers said their monies have not been doubled, with no trace of Nana Agrada. Meanwhile, prior to her arrest, Reverend Dr. Mama Pat was absent during service held at her church today. Victims of the alleged money doubling scam who visited the Heaven Way Champions International Church in anticipation of reclaiming their monies were thus left disappointed. There is more in the following report.
Former fetish priest who claims to have become an evangelist, Reverend Dr. Mama Pat, popularly known as Agrada for Miracle Money, on Friday, 7th October 2022. The latter had advertised widely that she was going to share money to members at a watch night service she organized, attracting many from various parts of the country. According to some of her victims, the church leader, Mama Pat, after displaying an unspecified amount of money at the watch night service, placed them into various groups and asked them to, by way of sacrifice unto the Lord, present all monies they had brought to the church, promising to bequeath to everyone present heavy amounts of money. The religious leader, however, after the service, announced that a certain group, which according to the victims, made up of only old members of the church, had won the sacrifice challenge and proceeded to donate an amount of 20,000 Ghana cedis to the said group. The disappointed victims gathered at the church premises on Saturday, 8th October 2022 to demand their cash. According to an eyewitness, who is a seller around Agrada's church, someone had even sold her smartphone at 20 Ghana cedis to take part in the offertory.
Memo sister be 20 cities. Me battery scan. Na me charge mo so because na kola na ka won. Na se wa awofo no. Atetem se me che ngo bi so atwemo. Beto wa atwemo. Na sister bi ono ne de na eye no. Ajo bi 26 wa so dem ho. Nti wa pon na onye scan on franko no. Na nipa na je ne smartphone. This is an official room in Manchester. Onfenko.
Some victims who are left with no funds to return back home also shared their frustrations with Metro News.
Yebo afodie wie no se saa de wa ko fa sika ne bae odi ka sika ne be che no odi ko ti ho afa de last minute na ko wie se ne nkrofo na abaji sika ne every yensem e ba sa wie na afa de chi ye no no sika na wanche na e hwa na ja ye ka sa de o man ye lole fe ti e be pa nkrofo bi che wo na ja wo mo kohwe no mo ji o mo ne kasa ye na o ma ye sala na che se obi sa oba bi a wo ko lole fe 40 Ghana oba ma o 10 cedi
o se ye ba afore na obeche sika no ti ye ba afore we no so first 1,000 Ghana na sa 7 million o sa ne manema no so mo megina ho na o iske bi ato a wo be ba na 400 million na waje tie nim se bia mama fom rafo ne ayifo nyina yi musika e de bae o mo bo wie ya sa no ne nkofo na wasan che sika na ye dey amom 4,000 Ghana 700 ne asefo nyina e sika nyina de se de ahye.
Meanwhile, Reverend Dr. Mama Pat failed to appear at church on Sunday. The service, which was conducted by an associate pastor, had prayer topics against state authorities and informants who may be present at the gathering, as well as other religious leaders perceived to be enemies of the church. The sermon delivered by the associate pastor also centered on the prevailing saga, as he claimed those who had received no monies yet from the founder lacked patience. Meanwhile, the police has begun investigations into the fraud scheme perpetrated at the church. Metro News can report that some intelligence officers of the police service were present at the church on Sunday to monitor events and also had some victims who were present interrogated.
And a private legal practitioner, Theophilus Donko, says Patricia Sidua, popularly known as Nana Grada, can be charged with offenses of defrauding by false pretense. According to him, affected victims must be encouraged to lodge a complaint at the police station so as to serve as evidence for the police in their investigations.
The law is that when you make a representation to somebody, and in the making of that representation, you know at the time of making that representation is false. And the person you are making the representation to believes in that representation and part away with a property or anything, then you can be charged with defrauding by false pretense. So if you ask me, on the face of it, Nana Grada or whatever you call her, can be charged with the offense of defrauding by false pretense. I think that it is behold on every citizen that when you feel that the crime is committed against you, you go to the nearest police station and make a report. So I believe that those people must be encouraged to go and make report at the police station so that the police station can really have evidence. The police can have evidence of the persons that they have defrauded. Because as we speak now, if the police start their investigation, who are they going to talk to? Agrada can decide to come to the police station and say that I want to remain silent throughout, even when she goes to court as an accused person. So the people who have been defrauded should not only be on social media or should not complain and put it on social media. They must go ahead and make a complaint to the police so that the police, based on that complaint, can trigger the investigation that is required. So I will encourage and entreat everybody who feels that whatever Nana Grada told them, she did not live by it, to go to the police station and make a complaint. So up to a maximum of 25 years for defrauding.
I guess the security and economic threat that this kind of behavior poses to the general public, especially her church-going members, is not lost on us. So we are going on Zoom to speak to Adib Sani. And Adib Sani is the security analyst. Hello, Sani. Good to have you again on Newsnight on Metro TV.
Pleasure is mine, Isa.
Right, so some people have said this woman's profile is known. I mean, this is not the first time she's done such a thing. Therefore, they should not have allowed themselves to be exploited. Others are also saying we should blame the police. What do you think as a security analyst, Sani?
Well, thank you very much. A very good evening to your viewers. I think everybody is to blame. Not just the victims, not just the police. We have to blame the system. Agrada's boldness, her viciousness is a reflection of a broken system. So I hardly blame her because she's just an opportunist who is exploiting some loopholes in our values, in our norms, in our criminal justice, and is doing it even on live TV. And I think it is the system that is to blame. Nana Appiah Mensah of Men's Gold destroyed a lot of lives, but he's still working a free man. He's still living lavishly. All right. So I think that generally everybody is to blame. But I think most of the blame should go to our fellow citizens who are so greedy and who have an insatiable thirst for overnight riches and would fall for such tricks. They easily become prey because of their greed as well. I mean, how do you expect that money would be doubled, knowing full well that this lady, used to be like that? I mean, she's done it to so many people. Go to Sotom police station, ask for her file, and you'll be amazed by the number of complaints that have been made against the same woman. And the police knows her, and she knows the police. So let's not behave like Agrada is someone new to us. This is what she's been doing all along.
Right.
Just that this time around, she's in a recycled bottle.
Okay, so Sani, does this call for churches to be regulated? I mean, really, what's your view on that?
Well, we need to be very careful not to create a problem in an attempt to solve a problem. The thing is, freedom of religion is very paramount to us. It is very pronounced in our constitution. It's something we hold in high esteem. To regulate churches might get Ghanaians to question whether indeed we are adhering to this constitutional provision. Rather, we should make a conscious attempt to draw a thick line between religion and deception, or religion and scam. The two don't meet. We cannot marry them. Scam is scam. It is criminality, and it has nothing to do with religion. People use religion as a means to scam. That doesn't make religion a scam. The same can be said about these terrorists who use Islam. A lot of them do, to recruit, to stage terrorist attacks. That doesn't mean Islam is a terrorist religion. So we need to, first of all, make a distinction between the two and apply the laws appropriately and ensure that anyone engaged in such a nefarious activity is held liable, as simple as that.
All right, so we are grateful for this input from Adib Sani, a security analyst. Let's move on with other stories on Newsnight on Metro TV. A nationwide strike by the University Teachers Association of Ghana is still imminent as all its branches make progress with emergency meetings, informed by the lack of progress in negotiations with government. On 5th October 2022, 4 labor unions in the public universities declared their intention to embark on a never-before-seen strike beginning Thursday, October 13. Now, according to leadership of the unions, the declaration gives the employer and all stakeholders of tertiary education in Ghana one crucial week to reverse the directive that seeks to negatively compromise the conditions of service of university workers. In all correspondences, UTAC noted that it had not received any response from the employer. Consequently, it called on the executives of all its branches as a matter of urgency to hold emergency meetings on their concerns and status of negotiations, and also report back to the National Secretariat not later than Monday, October 10, 2022. So the National Executive Committee of UTAC will subsequently meet on Tuesday, 11th October, to deliberate on the resolutions so passed from member campuses for consideration and action. So joining us for a conversation is Professor Solomon Nunu. He's the National President of UTAC. Prof, good evening and thank you for your time on Newsnight.
Good evening, and thank you for having me.
Great. So bring us up to speed on your demands and fallout from your engagement with government. I realize you've not been particularly pleased about it.
Okay, so the issues at stake have to do with issues related to our fuel allowances. So normally, whenever we government determines the rate for fuel, it affects three main allowances. One is the fuel allowance, which is the main one, and it's normally assigned to office holders. And we also have what we call the off-campus allowance, which is a commuter's allowance for persons living outside the university vicinity. And the last one is the vehicle maintenance allowance. Unfortunately, this year, when this rate was determined, government decided that they wouldn't let it affect the off-campus allowance and the vehicle maintenance allowance, and that is what has actually caused this seeming disaffection towards government for this particular issue.
Okay, so Prof, branches of your union have been meeting this week. What progress has been made, and what feedback can you give us?
In terms of feedback, it's early days yet, because as you rightly read in the letters, we'll meet on Tuesday to collate views from the various branches on the way forward. So at this point, we are meeting, we are briefing members on what has transpired so far, so that from there we can take their views and to be able to advise ourselves on what to do in the coming days.
Okay, so tell us, what scenarios are likely to play out at your meeting on Tuesday?
On Tuesday, basically, like I said, we are going to collate views from the 15 member campuses. So the various campuses, as they've met, so decisions normally will range between what to do beyond the engagement with government. If government goes ahead to provide all that we are requiring for, it means everything is perfect and all does go to sleep. However, if that is not the case, and then government decides that no, the status quo as they want to prevail will have to prevail, then in that case, we also will have to look at the views from members as to what do we do next. You know, always we say that no union is interested in striking, because in terms of teachers, anytime we do strike, or university workers for that matter, the work waits for us. We will still come back and get the work done. So it is not the ideal thing for us to consider doing at any point in time. But when push comes to shove, then that may be a consideration. That one, the members normally will decide what we do at that point.
All right, we are grateful, Professor Nuno, for joining us on Newsnight. We hope the best comes out of your meeting on Tuesday. Shifting on to other news stories, tonight, President Akufo-Addo has begun a 6-day working visit to France. Amongst others, he will be meeting various stakeholders on economic cooperation. He is also set to receive an honorary award of doctorate degree from Sorbonne University whilst in Paris. It will be the third honorary doctorate degree to be conferred on him. And OT Regional Minister Joshua Makubu has sent strong warning to contractors working on various infrastructure projects in the region to go by agreed contractual agreement. According to him, he won't hesitate to terminate contract should they fail to meet the developmental needs of the region.
Taking turns on the state of the region by the Ministry of Information, Regional Minister for OT Region, Joshua Makubu, said reconstruction of 30 kilometers forward to Jasikan and Jasikan-Dodo Pepeso Road, also upgrading of 26.8 kilometer Ketekrachi-Buya Phase 2 roads are earnestly ongoing. He was, however, worried about the lackadaisical attitude of some contractors in the region. According to him, the ministry won't hesitate to terminate contracts of contractors who fail to deliver.
It was also as a result of the lackadaisical attitude of the contractor. And I remember when I told him that, hey, you better sit up or I get your contract terminated. He told me no one could terminate his contract. But he has forgotten that we are operating in the era of a government led by His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. And I can tell the good people of Oti region and the good people of Ghana that that contract has been terminated. Valuation has been done. I have signed that off. It has been presented to PPA, and at the right time, a new contractor will go and start and complete the Regional Education Directorate in Jasikan.
The regional minister further mentioned that the creation of the Oti region is bringing needed development.
And when about 20 or 25 buses were brought to both Oti and then Volta, Oti region got about 12 buses. The question was, if it had been those days when we were still under Volta region, was it going to be possible to get 12 out of 20? That was just very impossible. So the creation of Oti region was not because of any land dispute. It was not because of any war between the people of Oti and then the people of Volta. Again, the laptop distribution. I'm sure if we were boxed together, we would have heard that this number of laptops that come to the Volta region, but this time they are able to mention specifically Oti region, and a good number of our teachers have also gotten what they call the laptops.
The regional minister also speaking said the introduction of the free senior high school policy by government has significantly transformed education.
Now let's remind you of a special service by MTN. Need to make an urgent call, but you realize you don't have credit, or your very important conversation was cut short because you ran out of airtime? Well, there is no need for all that stress, because all you have to do on MTN is dial *506# and you get to borrow credit on MTN Extra Time. The best part is you can borrow or bundle data by dialing the same number *506# whenever you run out of data to continue browsing. As always, your conversations don't need to end. Borrow extra time now and enjoy the things you love on your favorite network, MTN. You're watching Newsnight, and still to come. Welcome back, and as we indicated, a pressure group in Obuasi has blamed the recent surge in illegal mining activities across the country on lack of proper regulatory policy by government, adding that forming task forces of police and military to arrest and destroy machines of illegal miners would not yield any results. It says the processes to be properly followed for illegal miners is to make them acquire licenses to do their work without fear of arrest and seizure of machines as the best way forward. Right, we'll bring you more on that story in subsequent news bulletins. And moving away now, the General Secretary of the NDC School, Albert Pangbot, has lashed out at the Vice President of the Republic of Ghana, who doubles as chairman of the Economic Management Team, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, for mismanaging the Ghanaian economy. According to the NDC School Secretary, all sectors of the economy are collapsing due to the incompetency of the Nana Addo-led administration. He made the statement on the sidelines of a lecture organized by the NDC in Tamale. Our correspondent there is Alhassan Dibaba, who was there and has come through with this report.
The academic arm of the NDC say they are ready to help the party wrestle power from the ruling NPP. This is according to Albert Pangbot, General Secretary of the NDC School.
We have taken it upon ourselves to use the academic arm to support the party to achieve its aim of winning 2024 election. This election, coming election, is an election of all hands on deck. We are leaving no stone unturned to make sure come 2024 NDC come back to power.
He also lashed out at Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, who he says is now avoiding economic discussions and rather engaging in digital discussions.
His Excellency Bawumia, where is he now? Why is he no longer talking about competence? Why is he no longer interested in the economy? And he's talking about digitalization. When has he become an IT technician? These are the things. Looking at, when was the last time you heard the president talking about economy? When have you heard their ministers talking about economy? They have run into hiding.
And now, as part of measures to provide skills and make young people employable, the SOS Children's Village Netherlands has collaborated with their Ghanaian counterpart to train the youth in the Ashanti region. There is more coming up in this story.
The SOS Children Village Netherlands and the SOS Children Village Ghana have jointly launched a new project dubbed No Business as Usual Youth Employment Center in Kumasi to equip some 400 young persons with employable skills. The two-year project is the phase 2 of No Business as Usual Social Intervention Program aimed at contributing to improving inclusive employability skills for the disadvantaged young persons to improve their income and livelihoods. Launching the project at Sawaba in the Asokore Mampong municipality of the Ashanti region, the program's director for SOS Children Village Ghana, Bernard Amwako, noted that the project targets all categories of young people within the age bracket of 35 years who have little or no educational background, as well as SHS graduates.
The general objective of the NVU Youth Empowerment Center is to contribute to improving its inclusive employability for disadvantaged young people in Kumasi. This means that active participation in the activities of NVU YEC will result in at least 400 disadvantaged young people making positive life choices and taking action to change their lives and having improved income and livelihoods.
Marjon Duran is the SOS Children Village Netherlands portfolio coordinator for Ghana and Guinea-Bissau.
Being here, and we're very relieved and pleased and grateful that we are able to continue the NVU in the second phase. We will continue empowering the youth, providing them with what we call core basic life skills, and then also once the youth knows what path they would like to.
On his part, the Municipal Chief Executive Officer of the Asokore Mampong, Kennedy Kankam, urged the youth to take advantage of the program.
This was as a result of collaboration between civil society organizations, Asokore Mampong Municipal Assembly and stakeholders, which achieved the following results. 130 network events with more than 12,000 participants. 680 young people completed the work and entrepreneurship courses, of which 200 have found a job and 284 have set up their own businesses.
October, you know already, is Breast Cancer Month, and we are happy to share with you this story. So upon hearing that she had breast cancer, fear gripped her heart, but she did not flinch. Her only fear was to leave her young children behind. Juliet Mills Lutrod was diagnosed with breast cancer at the age of 40 when she knew her work wasn't done as a mother. From an intense feeling of distress to heartache, Juliet fought her way throughout it all. Here is her story.
The fear of leaving my children, the fear of leaving my family.
I was going to ask you that.
Yeah, the fear of leaving my family. But you know, I've always been the type of person who believes that death is a beautiful part of life. Because when you appreciate the fact that you will die someday, you live better. So I've never been afraid of dying. I was never afraid of dying. I was afraid of leaving my kids abruptly.
Although she was devastated when doctors told her she had breast cancer, Juliet fought her fears and stood tall through it all. Her husband had traveled when she was diagnosed, and when he returned, they both sought second opinions on what to do. Juliet describes her journey as long and confusing. She cried, she prayed, she did everything anyone would when they are in distress. But what kept her going was her love for life.
There are a series of tests that needs to be done, one being the mammography, one being the biopsy. Then the doctor will conclude whether there is anything at all. Don't start a funeral before you get to the hospital, I beg you. And at that point, listen, it's like anything else in life. If you're sick, there are protocols to what you have to do to get better. Allow the doctors to do their work, and then stay positive. When you're positive with everything, you feel better. The medication you take works better. So stay prayerful. Do not lose your connection with God, but be careful of the advice the people around you give you, because sometimes they will kill you more than help you.
She says although she's a prayerful person, she did everything her doctor asked her to, and she believes that's what's kept her alive.
With your 4 fingers, you can easily put one hand behind you and check your breast. In a circular mode, you go through, you push into your breast cage, and you check your breast. If you're not...
Right, in other news tonight, still with Breast Cancer Month, government has been urged to make breast cancer treatment free of charge. Now, speakers at the launch of MENA Breast Cancer Awareness Project in Accra suggested to government to increase the National Health Insurance levy component of the VAT from 2.5% to 3% to guarantee a sustainable and dedicated source of funding for the free treatment of the disease.
The MENA Breast Cancer Awareness Project is the brainchild of the Executive Director of Crime Check Foundation, Ibrahim Oponkwatin, to actualize the wish of his wife, who died of breast cancer 3 months ago. Her wish was to raise awareness and treatment of the disease if she had recovered. Unfortunately, she did not survive to pursue her wish. Launching the project, Oponkwatin mentioned that breast cancer campaigns need to be intensified and not wait for only October.
We know the challenges women are going through, especially with regards to breast cancer detection and all that. I think it is important that we don't even limit October as a month that we should all gather and then say something about breast cancer. Mijidi say, as I say, perhaps every month. Because October and the kai hondia sa 1 year no salam pu bi shawa na enyi. It is important for government to ensure say the rate you bore on breast cancer no you betimi intensify.
The new approach by MENA.
You're a baby or your man, breast still plays an important role in our lives. So let's take a look at our breast cancer tip for today.
During your cancer treatment, you will need to consider the different kinds of liquids that you may use for nourishment to quench your thirst or settle your stomach, and they could be clear fluids or full liquids. Together, we can.
Breast Cancer Awareness Month is proudly brought to you by Reflux Sanitary Pad and Baby Pull-Up Diaper and Give Us Floor and WC Cleaners.
Now let's do some other stories on News Tonight. And the Office of the Okuapehene has called for peace and unity following the gazetting of His Royal Majesty Osagie-Ayo Kwesi Ekufuor III as Paramount Chief of the traditional area. On 29 September 2022, the Judicial Committee of the National House of Chiefs unanimously dismissed the appeal filed by the Queen Mother and her 3 other associates and affirmed the judgment of the Judicial Committee of the Eastern Regional House of Chiefs. To help us understand the state of affairs in Ekropong and other states of Akuapem, we are joined by our Eastern Regional correspondent, Kofi Ejay. Hello, Kofi. It's good to have you on Newsnight.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, too. And before we delve any further, give us a quick roundup of the Akuapem chieftaincy dispute.
Okay, since 2015, when the Akuapem Hene Osadeyo Adankwah died, there have been a search for the legitimate royal person to fit in the shoes of Osadeyo Akufo Adankwah. It has been back and forth for almost 7 years now. And as you rightly said, recently the National House of Chiefs gazetted Kwadwo Kesseh, who is now Odisha Kwadwo Kesseh, who is now Osadeyo Akufo III. Now, the letter from his office is calling for unity. And this unity, they believe, will bring back the development of Akuapem, since because of the confusion and the fight here and there, the development of the Akuapem state has become to a halt. And now that they have been gazetted, they believe the unity they are expecting will come to prevail. Then, fast forward, they'll be able to gain back their glory in the development of Akuapem.
Okay, Kofi. So the office of the gazetted Akuapem is calling for peace following the ruling. What has been the response from the other side? Quickly, just before we go.
Now, going forward, from today onwards, the public, or let's say the country, will wait to see how the other side will accept the gazetted chief, so that they will see if they accept the gazetted chief, then they believe the unity they are looking for is coming to pass. Okay,
thank you very much. That's Kofi AJR correspondent in the Eastern region, bringing us to date with the dispute in the Eastern region chieftaincy affair. So we're watching Newsnight, and we'll return shortly with some more stories. You stay with us. Welcome back and to the business segment of the news, and let's start with the most important one. The dollar has hit the 11 cedi to $1 mark, as some forest bureaus in parts of Accra are selling a dollar at an average of 11.2 cedis, according to information from some anonymous sources within the banking industry. There are no dollars in circulation.
Checks indicates that the demand for the dollar keeps surging as there is very little dollar in circulation, but they hope that inflows from $1.13 billion cocoa syndicated loan will help improve supply and slow down the rate of depreciation of the currency. The first tranche is expected by the end of this month. On the interbank market, the Bank of Ghana quoted the dollar at 9 cedi 63 pesos on Friday, October 7, 2022. Meanwhile, the cedi is also not faring well against the pound and euro. It is going for 12 cedi 50 pesos to the pound and 10 cedi 57 pesos to the euro respectively. The last forex forward by the Bank of Ghana indicated that the demand exceeded supply by $73.25 million in the latest auction. This is compared with the $82.75 million recorded a month ago. Bloomberg quotation had earlier put the depreciation of the Ghana cedi at 40.05% in value to the US dollar in 9 months of 2022. This ranked it as the second worst performing currency in the world, in the 147th position.
Now, according to a former finance minister, said Tekwe, the nation's increasing debt stock will become a burden for future generations to pay.
If with one oil field, we're able to put money aside for crisis, and part of that money is what was used for COVID with one oil field, and despite 3, it had to take much of the money from one oil field to do it. It means that if you take it pro rata, could we have put 750 aside? Could we have managed better? So that, for example, during COVID, we went to the fund for 1 billion. Could we then have gone for only 500, 750, or only 250? That's how you begin to strengthen yourself, like many of the middle-income countries, against the fund. As I said, we took off the first bond. We had a program to take off the bonds that we had done over a period of, because there were 10-year bonds, to say, let's not wait again to 3 years and then we scramble. Just as we are doing now. There are many bonds that are falling due. I'm sure you've seen the numbers in between 2025, 2026, and even as we speak, we could have
Of Finance Minister said Tekwe. And you're watching News Night, and when we return shortly, it will be time for sports. And beginning this segment tonight, match day 1 of the Malta Guineas Women's Premier League has ended throughout the various centres in the country. At the Medina Astro pitch in the nation's capital, Rich City ladies were hammered 3-0 by Esiam Socrates ladies.
What was wrong was the information the technical team gave to the players in the first half. Yeah, because, you know, in our preparation for the game, we just had to take into account our last meeting with Socrates in the Middle League. We played against them, and then we watched all their games, and so we had a fair idea of how they set up. And so our preparation was based on what we were expecting them to do. But then we realized in the first half that they had changed their system and all that. And so if we had probably reacted quicker than that and given the girls the right information earlier on, then maybe they could have reacted in a positive way. But then you could see in the second half we did far better than the first half. The fight was perfect. And so maybe if we had reacted earlier, it would have, because they played a 3-4-3 and we thought we were going to play a 4-3-3. So our system was leaving too many holes for them to use.
Happy. We work a lot. We were really expecting a victory. Then we got it. So we are all happy. You know, football is composed of 4 pillars, which are the physical condition, the technical one, the psychological one, and the tactical one. And we need to work all those things.
Generally, if you look at the game today, I think we saw the energy, the crowd here. For me personally, I think I was a bit surprised to see the number of people that have turned up today. We know the Women's Premier League wasn't there, and that was really one of the reasons why Malta Guineas came in, so that we can have that impact coming on straight away. And from today and the activities and the games you've seen today, it's clear that we are making the right impact. I'm extremely proud of the partnership so far.
Up next is entertainment news. And in entertainment tonight, Youth Bridge Foundation, a youth development organization, has launched an all-inclusive movie to tackle issues of concern to the youth and also telling the story of the impact of COVID-19.
Present at the launch of the movie were officials of Youth Bridge Foundation, producers of the movie JSE Productions, cast members and the press. The movie, according to the Senior Programs Officer at Youth Bridge Foundation, Joyce Nyame, seeks to show from the cultural lens how COVID-19 affected Ghana, especially the youth.
We just did some research on how COVID had impacted on our social and economic lives, and we decided to do a movie this time. And the movie is titled The Wildfire. So there is this, we enacted how COVID impacted on our lives. And then you see the African culture. So if you listen to the story, we are just trying to tell a story.
Lead actor in the Wildfire movie, Ajit Anand, speaking to the press, explained why he accepted to be part of the production and the role he played in the movie.
Wildfire it's not your everyday kind of movie. It's a movie that factors in all groups of all individuals out there that we normally would not consider in our storytelling. And so, for example, we're looking at the visually impaired. We're looking at other people who are challenged, physically, who are challenged because of just by no fault of theirs. But my role, I was a lawyer. I remember I was a lawyer who comes in to take. I hope I'm not giving too much away, but I represent the folks who really, because of their status, would take advantage of a situation and leave somebody very sad or not having been able to attain their dreams.
Wildfire is set to be premiered on October 21 at the Alliance Francaise and features Ajay Tianan, Martha Kuma, Caliboys, and several others. The movie also features a sign language interpreter to communicate to others who may have the disability of hearing or speaking.
Philip, are you okay? Are you okay?
It's Newsnight, and let's now take a look at some international stories.
Two members of Iran's security forces have been killed in continuing protest against the authorities. Videos on social media show students and schoolgirls joining the demonstrations across the country. Dozens of protesters have been killed since unrest began last month following the death of a young woman in custody. 3 people have died after a wooden tourist boat capsized in the northern Polish city of Gdańsk. Officials said the boat most likely turned over due to the waves generated by a nearby tugboat. 14 people, including 2 crew members, were on board when the Gala Jansky capsized on the Matlawa River on Saturday. A large fire has broken out at the Centauros Mall in the center of the Pakistani capital, Islamabad. Images on social media showed a huge plume of smoke emanating from the building, with some footage showing flames inside and outside the building. Police say all people in the mall were evacuated safely. According to Ukraine's defense ministry, at least 17 people have been killed by Russian missile strike on the southeastern city Zaporizhzhia. Dozens more were wounded and several residential buildings destroyed.
And before we go, let's just take a look at the top stories again. Patricia Esiedua, known as Nana Agrada, arrested following allegations of money doubling scam by some members of the public. Nationwide strike by the University Teachers Association of Ghana still imminent as all branches make progress with emergency meetings informed by lack of progress in negotiations with government. President Akufo-Addo begins a 6-day working visit to France. On the international front, 2 members of Iran's security forces have been killed in continuing protests against the authorities. That's Newsnight on Metro TV. I am Issa Moni. Thanks for watching and have a good night.